Okay, well, welcome everyone to the stream. Today is 18th September 2018. As you can see, the date here says 19th. It looks like Wednesday's patch notes were released one day early. So they're not live yet, but chances are by the time you see this on YouTube, these are live. This is not to be mistaken with the PTR notes that are also going around this time. Those, the PTR, they just involve Brightwing and Kerrigan's PTR notes. They get a rework, Brightwing and Kerrigan, and those are currently testable for a week. Hopefully not detestable. We'll look at them at the end of these balanced patch notes. So for now, let's take a look at the heroes that are getting changed and we'll make some remarks about it. Keep in mind this is a preview, not a review. So none of these opinions that I have are based on science and testing yet, but they are all based on an immediate gut feeling, knee-jerk, and a little bit of experience as well. So let's start things off with Chromie, who has been surfing at a pretty low win rate ever since her rework. Looks like she's going to get some... well, I can't do a guessing game about buffs and nerfs aids because I've already skimmed through them. Looks like Chromie is getting some buffs. A small health increase, about, 4%. Dragon's Breath cooldown reduction. Bronze Talons will deal more damage. Mounting Sand will allow her to deal more damage. Deep Breathing will allow her to deal more damage and more quickly. And Mobius Loop gets CDR and get more mana back. It's straight up buffs for a hero that has been surfing at low win rate. For those of you that like Chromie, this should be some happy news, a happy breeze of quality of damage life increase. Next up, Falstad, a little bit cheaper on the mana. Being an older hero, Falstad is often left in the dust in terms of mana sustain, and although he can reset his entrance into the lane and onto the map with flight, that's not generally how he would love to use it. Newer heroes have a little bit more easy time managing their mana. Look at the comparison of Cassia and Falstad. Cassia doesn't run out of mana that easily, and if you do, you've done a really good job at damaging people. So Falstad, I would say this is definitely justified. This is nice as well, but the 2-second CDR is the big story here. 13 seconds still means that you can't really spam it on a single player too much, but you'll have it more often in a fight. Even though Lightning Rod is not the most spammable one, because someone needs to be relatively near. Keep in mind though that the full W build Falstad gets both a longer period of Lightning Rod, as well as shields from it, so he gets more sustain. As well as you can have bonus range and damage on it. And also, if you take the level 13, you don't take the strike, the lightning rod talent at 13. Instead, at 13, you could have the CDR combined with the 16 trait activation. Together with that, you'll have many lightning rods indeed. Because of that, with that cooldown mage build style Falstad play, the mana reduction is more necessary than ever. So it's a really good time to try out Falstad once again, starting from September 19th on Wednesday, and give him a spin, and try that mage build, because that one should be really buffed with these changes. And that's not even looking at power roll yet, which makes him a little bit safer. Flight did get a small nerf. I guess they wanted to make sure that in terms of competitive, he doesn't get too out of whack because of this. These things matter, but in competitive he mostly gets picked because of flight. And so I guess they're trying to hit the sweet spot where they please the plebs, us, and keep him in check at pro play. Phoenix's Purification Salvo was so spammable that you could use it on a single player for a kill to get value, even if an objective is looming. 75 seconds was a little bit above average cooldown when it comes to heroics. You couldn't use it twice per fight unless it was a massive, long, sustained fight. Or Alterac Pass and Volskaya Foundry. But this is definitely a justified nerf on the far more popular heroic. It's all cool to do the global laser and everything, But this was the popular one, the best one, and yeah, this is justified. He's still good, Phoenix. Doesn't really change anything much for anyone, but keep being judicious about how to use your ult. Now a little bit more than before. Genji, still one of the best assassins at pro play. Still no one that good at him at diamond and below. And I'm still 1 out of 20 in terms of wins versus losses with him in Hero League. So I don't have much to say about that, except that I don't like how easy he is to... Well, how easy he is when you're really good with him at killing people. He still has a really unique kit that is the best at finishing people and getting out of trouble, together with Tracer. So any Genji nerf is applauded by me, even if his win rates do not illustrate that he needs nerfs. Thank you for the sub, Staubfinger. Mephisto has been doing pretty good. They say that in his patch notes as well. And he's going to get a number of nerfs and some buffs to less used talents. So let's take a look at it. Lightning Nova will do a little bit less damage. Damage bonus a little bit less and a little bit less max as well. Consumed Souls will be a far smaller slow, which is his ult of course. The global ult with 40% slow. Durance of Hate, I've always liked it better. Always, in the 2 weeks that he's been out. But it wasn't that good, even though I found it was quite good. But it could be a little hard to hit. It is a 1 second channel for a non-global ability, so you're arguably more at risk at the 1 second proximity channel than a 2.5 second global channel. And so Durance of Hate being faster is definitely a welcome change. The range has been increased, which is a big deal, makes him safer. A longer route and far more damage, so I would say this is an extremely powerful heroic now. It's on an 80-second cooldown and it's reducible at the level 13 talent. So I think my new build with Mephisto is going to be, if I don't take the Durance, I'm expecting probably to be using the Durance of Hate, 80-second cooldown, and then reduce it with with Hysteria. And you're going to get a lot of damaging, quick traveling routes that I think will be very satisfying to play with. And strong, also. The 2.5 second period also puts it in line with the period of time that you have with your teleportation. So if you hit a route, you get a full 2.5 second teleport Lightning Nova proc on all the routed targets, which can be quite nice. No damage nerfs on Consumed Souls, that's true, but it did get the slow nerf. Unyielding Power was a weak talent. You need to hit 20 people with your Skull Missile and its damage would go up from 60 extra, now 100 extra. That still makes it far weaker than the ability power at level 1. So I would still recommend you to go with the ability power rather than the Skull Missile quest, which 1, you need to ramp up, 2, only affects your missile, 3, doesn't affect CDR, and 4, it doesn't affect your Heroic, your Lightning Nova, all of the things that actually deal the most damage. It is cool though that you get the CDR reduced to 5 seconds from 8. That is the biggest deal of it. So the fact that you have bonus damage on top of that is nice. The idea is that the Skull Missile becomes so spammable is that it actually does give you more Novas, more teleportations, more heroic procs. So it is definitely worth trying out. Anger is basic attacks that also give you CDR. This can be combined nicely with the splash damage at level 13. Shard of Hate. This gives you multiple auto attack procs, now to the order of 1 second CDR per hit instead of 3/4. Nice buff and definitely worth experimenting with. Static Barrier is, I think, by far the best level 4 talent. And I immediately was gravitating towards it when the hero came out. And I've seen almost no Mephisto on ladder that has had anything else except this one. The fact that it gets reduced by 10% for me is a non-issue. I'll still use it. Lightning Reaction is one that actually I haven't used at all, but I did hear that Rich from the best Korean team, he uses Lightning Reaction rather than one of the others. So maybe it's the best one. unbeknownst to me. Maybe that's why it's getting a nerf. Static field will get less damage. That's the one I'm using. Also a nerf. And then finally Shade Lord. A cooldown reduction from 1 minute to 40 seconds. Shade Lord is the swap. I haven't used it yet. Oh, I've picked this, but I've never used the activatable. Oops. Nova. Advanced cloaking gives you a baseline movement speed increase from 5 to 10%. Perfect shot. CDR 1 second off extra. Thank you, Ray, for the sub. Thank you, The Dant360 for the sub. Welcome. An explosive shot, more splash. So she gets better at wave clear. And these two buffs makes snipe mastery pretty cool. You can take like 2 to 3 Q talents snipe. And actually with the splash, it becomes a little bit like Hanzo's explosive arrow, except it comes, 12 levels later, and you're not Hanzo. But yeah, that's cool. Raynor takes a StarCraft 1 bunker-like nerf, 2 damage less. Sure. Sergeant Hammer. You know, they could have done like +2 damage to Chen's auto attack too, and no crow would have crowed. If you're gonna do this, look at the unused heroes as well. Raynor's dead. Specialist, Sergeant Hammer. Sergeant Hammer has been very popular at pro play because of the coordination required to make her a very strong pick. But anyone that has played with Hammer in the last 6 months knows that every ladder Hammer never unsieges and will die to anything that comes their way. Lava Wave, no problem. Turn on new steel plating, absorb 3k damage, then die to the residual of it. Chromie shooting me, let's give her 150 stacks. New Chromie, 60 stacks, whatever. Yeah, Hammer's gonna siege and they're not gonna unsiege. But at pro play she's very good, and she had a 12 second, 50 armor, unstoppable, level 4 talent, and that's now 16 seconds, which puts it in line with the Stitches that doesn't get fleabag procs. Stitches hook. So you can still keep blocking Stitches hooks, but not more than that. This one is actually... I'm not sure how I feel about this one. Before, if you got CC'd as Hammer when you're sieged, you would turn on your armor, the unstoppable. You would then thrust away, using the residual 1.5 or 2 second unstoppable effect to get away from danger that would follow up. Now you can no longer do that. So you are unstoppable, and if you hover siege your way out of trouble, you're still fine and unstoppable. But as soon as you press hyper thrusters, you get a burst of movement, but you lose the unstoppable effect, which means that any slows that proc on you by then will make it easier to catch you. I don't know if that's a good or a bad decision. Maybe it's good because... I mean, it's ironic that you have an unstoppable and a character that barely moves. So it's more like unstoppable, unmovable. But maybe it's good because it does make counterplay against Hammer a little easier. And people can plan around making her use that unstoppable and then making sure she has to move. So that then you can CC her again. Stop movable. Unstoppable route. Maybe it's a good change. Deckard's Potion of Shielding has long time been the most popular level 4 talent, also the best. It is way overdue a nerf, and finally receives one. It's not a big nerf, so it's probably still the best, but it's worth also looking more at Potion of Rejuvenation, which gives mana and healing over time, but I think it's still the best. Ancient Blessings has also long been overdue a nerf. It does a lot of damage and heal on your whole team. It's still as good as it was, but you can't use it as often. I feel like it should also be weakened in terms of its strength, not just cooldown. But this at least makes those moments that he can do that less common. It's a big nerf to its cooldown. Yeah, this trait is better than most ults. It's true, Doomfire, you are right. Deckard is still a good hero. Really good. Tyrande, I feel like she's been very strong. She doesn't cover every aspect of what a solo support can be, but she's pretty much like a great solo support right now. Probably a little bit tougher to play than most though. So she's locked behind a skill floor, which is good. So she doesn't become herpaderpa OP, everyone's fad of the month, abused in every aspect of the ladder. But I feel like she's been strong and she's seen pro play already. So, yeah, high skill floor and skill ceiling. So let's see what they do to her. I actually haven't read this one yet. Light of Elune will cost more mana. Wow, that's a big change. And heal a little bit less. I think that makes sense because she has felt very strong. Shadowstalk will heal a little bit less. Lunar Flare will do less bonus range. True Shot less damage. Straight up they feel like they hit the ground running too fast with her. They released her at too high numbers and will get some nerfs. Elune's Chosen is where everyone heals on Hunter's Mark, I think. Less duration. Quickening Blessing, give less movement speed to allies. And Darnassian Archery have a long less grace period of auto attack stacking damage on a single target. She has a high win rate apparently, 56% allegedly, so these are big nerfs. Maybe too big, I don't know. But it's big nerfs. Whitemane, Desperate Plea. Whitemane has also been a top support, though she has had mixed results in the pro plays of heroes. That could just be because she needs more time to get trained with and as. I've always maintained that she's strong ever since her release. So let's see what they do to her. A little bit less heal, longer cooldown on E, which also means less heal in her case. They buff the weakest level 1 talent, which gives more damage on the E and is quite weak. And they also give more mana return on the E. It's a small enough nerf on these aspects that she's still fine. And these two talents are probably still not going to get picked, either one. I don't think you should want to do these. So you might as well ignore this aspect and just focus on these. Straight up nerfs. If you pick these, you may nerf yourself even further. I could be wrong, but that's my initial idea. I think Indulgence is weaker. Like, this is like, the idea of this is Whitemane doesn't use burst heal. And just keep doing E, get mana back, deal damage and heal a little bit. But when it really comes down to it in a fight, you can't play like this. You need to play with W and Q. So, I think she's just nerfed a bit, but she's still good. Still top 5 support. Anubarak is actually good at pro play and good in Hero League if you pick him in the right scenario. But he's good in the right way. Really good at what he does, but punishable by strong auto attacks and strong anti-crowd control capabilities. I don't feel like he needed a nerf. I don't feel like he needed a buff. And that's a really big one. It looks innocent, but Hardened Carapace gives spell armor these days and is damage through Urticating Spine's level 13 talent, which is his second best or best, and it gives him shields. And you get more beetles. So this is like a quadruple buff, potentially. And I don't feel like it was necessary, but they did, and there it is. So enjoy him, but still don't pick him in the wrong situation. A Nubarak into Muradin, Deckard, Greymane, Blaze is probably not going to do fantastic. Arthas has seen very little play, and it's not that he's that bad, but it's that other offlaners have become better. Arthas, you wouldn't take him into Leoric offlane, because Arthas generally plays the offlane. You wouldn't take Arthas into Leoric offlane, Malthael, Yrel, Blaze. You would take him into Thrall, but Thrall's already 5th best. And he doesn't beat the Haka either. So he's like... He's not top 5 offlaners, but he does beat number 5 offlaner, which is Thrall. He gets better, which is deserved. Or you can nerf Yrel, Blaze. I don't know how he does against Sonya. I think probably he does... It depends, because he can help his allies gank Sonya with his slow. I feel like he probably wins that because Sonya is quite auto-attack reliant. But I don't see Sonya as top 5 offlane. Maybe she's number 5 and Thrall 6. It depends. It really depends. But buffs are okay, but I would have loved to see instead nerfs on Yrel and Blaze. And I guess Blaze does get nerfed, so we'll see actually. They will get it actually. Yeah. He gets a little bit more mana, sustain and damage through his trait, and more health increase here as well. Why not both? Good question. Let's do both. Blaze, health increase, because apparently they said Blaze is doing very well in pro play, but is the lowest win rate warrior in the game. Very surprised to see that. Health increase, regen, but he gets less mana sustain on flame stream, oil spill. But he gets more jet propulsion, more stuns, and his stuns are really big. Bunker drop, a little bit less damage, almost ignorable. Yeah, apparently Chen and Rexar and Diva are better warriors and Cho than Blaze. But at pro play, he's like top pick, top pick, not ban, but top pick. Yeah, a little bit less damage, ignorable, longer cooldown, deserved and overdue. Mana cost increase, that's a big deal. Combustion, damage increase. This buffs him at ladder play, at pups. And less self-slow, so buffs, but this won't be used at pro play. So this is the smartest buff you can do to fix the issue that they described in the developers' comments. And thank you for the sub, Ivan Sabat Levy. Endurance stim pack, more shield. Pros don't use this, but it's useful in ladder maybe. Neural stim pack is the pro pick usually, and it gets nerfed, so it makes sense how they're doing this. Good changes. Regen CDR, cooldown reduction increase. So this is a recently emerging trend is to pick this one once again. Bam Bam was right all along, and now there's more CDR, so also quite useful. More attack speed slow, so he's even better with the fiery oil or any oil against auto attackers. A buff in that sense. And then less CDR from his level 16. But that of course is just a way to equalize his baseline E buff. I don't like this one. Like if you're going to nerf him, but if you're going to nerf him, maybe this doesn't really affect pro play too much. Well, it does. But generally at pro play, a single stun often determines the fight. The gank, the fight. And maybe this is a smart change. It clearly makes him a lot better in terms of stuns. And at pro play, more than half the fights are over in less than 10 seconds. It's also an escape, sure. And of course, many fights in pro play are longer than 10. But all those ganks and quick pickoffs and bursts. Yeah, maybe they're trying to push him a bit as a main tank. ETC has been very squishy. And they buff his HP just a bit to reflect that. I think that's fair. He is a decent hero, but he does feel squishy, and this will help a bit. ETC mains unite. Tyrael, the same thing. He's actually a really good hero, but he often fits the offlane. Both Tyrael and Arthas can main tank, but Arthas generally needs Abathur or Lucio to support him if he's main tank, because both Abathur and Lucio can give movement speed to Arthas, which makes his biggest weakness not as egregious. Arthas is really good at a lot of things, but he's not fast. And Tyrael helps with that. Funnily enough, Tyrael helps Arthas with it. Abathur level 16 helps with it, and so does Lucio. So they can main tank, but often they are on the offlane. And Tyrael is a good hero, but he doesn't win the offlane against Yrel, and he loses it too hard to be valid right now. And that means that Tyrael doesn't need buffs as much as that Yrel needs nerfs in order to make Tyrael more valid again. Still, he gets buff as well. No complaints from me there. He's a really cool hero. A little bit health increase. And more W's. And less mana. I would have liked to see more smites instead of more W's. W always leads to problematic balance situations if you give too much support on tanks. But giving more damage to Tyrael really fits what he feels like, what he should feel like. The W level 1 talent that gives justice for all, the shield to allies, is quite strong. And this can make that a potentially problematic talent and ability. Tyrael, 15 mana plus on every ability. It's fair because mana was not an issue for her. But they didn't touch the level 4 talent. That gives 35 armor for 5 seconds. And then the funny thing is, all her level 4 talents are insane. Here's the history of balance on Tyrael, okay? All level 4 talents are insane. Everyone was picking Gift of the Naru. Then they nerfed it. Then everyone is picking Aegis of Light. Which they had buffed, by the way. Crazy. Crazy. It should be like 15 armor for 3 seconds, yes. Not 35 for 5. So now everyone is picking Aegis of Light. Guess what happens when they bring this down to 25 armor 4 seconds, which won't be enough, but it's better than this. Everyone's gonna take this. 3 seconds, break all slows and roots, and give them 50% movement speed? It's insane. It's on a 22-second cooldown. You use this on Garrosh. You use this on Arthas. It's insane. They're all broken, and the fact that people are even picking one instead of just closing their eyes and randomly clicking on the screen shows how much more broken Aegis is compared to the others. But next thing, it'll be Hand of Freedom. They all need to be touched. That's my very balanced, non-emotional opinion on Tyrael. And that was my patch preview. Hope you enjoyed it, found it useful, educational, whatever, or you had a good laugh at my ignorance.